As a men's health and urology expert who has worked closely with aging populations for over 3 decades, I've had the privilege of witnessing not only the biological changes that come with age, but also the emotional and psychological shifts that often accompany them. For many men over 60, there is a quiet frustration, sometimes unspoken, sometimes painfully clear, when it comes to the decline in intimate function, energy, and self-confidence. The reality is that after 60, circulation naturally slows, hormone levels drop, and the once vibrant signals that govern performance, sensation, and vitality begin to dim. It's not a failure of character, it's biology. But the good news is that biology is not a one-way road. And one of the most underappreciated tools to help reclaim what feels lost is something deceptively simple: castor oil. The story of castor oil in men's health isn't one of folklore or vague tradition. It is rooted in real, observable, physiological benefits, particularly in the way it influences blood circulation to critical areas of the male body. Chief among these is the improved blood flow to the penis and lower abdominal region, a function that is not just desirable for sexual health but foundational to male confidence and whole-body wellness. Let's start with something many men over 60 experience but few are comfortable discussing: the gradual weakening of erections, the decline in firmness, the increase in time needed for arousal, and sometimes the complete disappearance of morning erections that once came so effortlessly in earlier years. These aren't simply signs of getting old, they are signals from the body that blood flow is no longer reaching these areas efficiently. The blood vessels in the pelvic region, particularly the small capillaries and arteries that supply the corpus cavernosum, the spongy erectile tissue in the penis, become less responsive over time. Microcirculation diminishes, and without that rich, oxygenated blood, the tissues begin to lose their tone, their elasticity, and eventually, their function. This is where castor oil enters the conversation in a powerful and restorative way. The heart of castor oil's benefits is a unique fatty acid known as ricinoleic acid. This compound makes up about 90% of castor oil's content and has been widely studied for its anti-inflammatory, circulation boosting, and tissue healing properties. When applied topically, meaning directly to the skin, ricinoleic acid penetrates deeply into the underlying tissues. Unlike oils that merely sit on the surface, castor oil absorbs slowly but thoroughly, carrying its active compounds into the dermal and even subdermal layers where the vascular network lies. What happens next is subtle, yet profound. Ricinoleic acid has a vasodilatory effect. It gently causes blood vessels to expand, not in an artificial, stimulant-driven way, like pharmaceutical options, but in a natural, progressive manner that restores the flexibility and responsiveness of blood vessels. When applied to the lower abdomen, groin, or directly around the base of the penis, castor oil begins to reawaken microcirculation. It encourages capillaries that have become sluggish to open. It supports the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to cells that have long been undernourished. And most importantly, it reestablishes the vascular communication necessary for spontaneous, responsive arousal. One of the most overlooked aspects of erectile quality is that it's not just about blood entering the penis. It's about how fast it enters, how well it's trapped, and how efficiently it's recycled. Healthy circulation doesn't just enable arousal, it maintains it. By applying castor oil consistently, particularly in combination with gentle massage, begin to retrain the circulatory system in the pelvic region to be more responsive again. Many men report that after several weeks of consistent use, not only does the firmness of their erections improve, but the frequency of spontaneous erections begins to increase, particularly during the night or early morning. This is not anecdote. This is physiology responding to improved blood dynamics. But circulation to the penis isn't just about sexual performance. It's also about tissue health, nerve sensitivity, and emotional well-being. One of the reasons diminished blood flow is so distressing isn't only because it interferes with intercourse, it's because it causes a man to feel disconnected from his own body. That loss of responsiveness, that quiet sense of fading in, a part of life once rich with confidence, can erode self-esteem. Restoring blood flow is therefore not only a physical intervention, it is a deeply emotional and psychological one. Furthermore, consistent application of castor oil supports the health of the surrounding tissues, which are often overlooked. The pubic area, perineum, and lower abdomen are all part of a vascular network that feeds into the genital region. When these areas are neglected, blood has a harder time reaching its final destination. Gentle massage with castor oil across this broader region improves circulation holistically, not just in isolated spots. In traditional medicine and modern integrative approaches alike, the idea of moving stuck energy is central to vitality. In physiological terms, that stuck energy is stagnated blood, lymph, and cellular waste. Castor oil helps move all of it, restoring flow, removing blockages, and creating an environment where health can re-emerge. There is also a nervous system component that should not be overlooked. The pelvic region is dense with nerve endings that require robust blood flow to function optimally. Reduced circulation affects not just erections, but also sensitivity, sometimes dulling sensation to the point where arousal becomes a frustrating effort rather than a pleasurable experience. The return of healthy blood flow nourishes these nerve endings, reawakening sensation and pleasure in a way that is often surprising for older men. Imagine regaining not just function, but feeling the full rich palette of tactile awareness that brings depth to intimacy. Now, let's talk about the practical application. One of the reasons castor oil is so effective is because it lends itself to routine. It's easy to integrate into a nightly habit, warming a small amount of the oil between your hands, then massaging it into the skin of the lower abdomen, pubic area, and base of the penis not only delivers the therapeutic effects of the oil, it also becomes a moment of self-care, of reconnection with your own body. It takes just 5 minutes, but over time, those minutes compound into results that go far beyond what many expect. Adding a warm compress or heating pad afterward enhances absorption and accelerates results, as warmth increases vasodilation and helps the ricinoleic acid penetrate more deeply. Consistency is everything. Like any circulation-based intervention, whether it's exercise, diet, or therapy, the body needs repetition and rhythm. Using castor oil 3 to 4 times per week is ideal, and patience is crucial. This is not a quick fix-it, it is a cumulative healing process. Most men begin to feel subtle changes after the first few weeks. A slight increase in warmth or fullness, a return of nocturnal erections, less tension in the pelvic region. These early signs are encouraging, and they build toward more visible transformation: stronger erections, greater sensation, increased confidence. Importantly, there are no harsh side effects. Unlike medications that force an erection through artificial means, often risking discomfort, dependency, or cardiovascular strain, castor oil works in harmony with your natural biology. It gently supports what your body already wants to do. Heal, circle, and respond. This makes it especially valuable for men who may not be candidates for pharmaceutical solutions, whether due to heart conditions, prostate issues, or simply a desire to avoid medication. In closing this opening section, I want to reframe the conversation for you. Circulation is not just a biological function, it is a symbol of life. It's the movement of vitality through your body, the physical manifestation of energy and aliveness. When you restore circulation to the parts of yourself that have grown, quiet, or withdrawn, you are sending a message not just to your tissues, but to your psyche that you are still here, still capable, still worthy of pleasure and connection. Castor oil may be simple, but its effects are profound. In the coming sections, we'll explore even more of its benefits, but let us begin with this. To restore blood flow is to restore vitality, and every man deserves that chance. Building upon the foundational benefit of improved circulation, there lies another critical layer of male rejuvenation, one that operates deep within the tissues, often silently, and yet influences function, sensation, and recovery in profound ways. This is the issue of internal scarring, hardened tissues, and fibrosis, commonly referred to in medical literature as penile plaque, fibrosis of the tunica, albuginea, or even Peyronie's, like changes in subclinical forms. What makes castor oil an especially powerful ally for older men is not just its ability to enhance blood flow, but its lesser-known capacity to soften, break down, and remodel scar tissue. To understand how castor oil addresses this issue, we must first understand the nature of fibrosis. As men age, especially those who have experienced chronic inflammation, injury, microtrauma, from years of sexual activity, or even prostate interventions, the body gradually replaces healthy, elastic tissue with denser, fibrous tissue. This process is natural, it is how the body heals. But over time, too much of this dense collagen-heavy tissue begins to impair flexibility, elasticity, and even nerve signaling. In the penis, this can result in curvature, discomfort, difficulty maintaining erections, or a feeling of rigidity without fullness, where part of the penis becomes less responsive than the rest. Even men without a formal diagnosis of Peyronie's disease may carry internal plaques, unnoticed but impactful, and this issue is not limited to the penis alone. The entire pelvic basin, perineum, pubic fascia, groin ligaments, and surrounding connective tissue can become fibrotic, especially in men who have had hernia surgeries, hip problems, or years of sitting for long periods. These fibrotic tissues create a web of restriction. Blood can't flow freely, nerves can become entrapped, lymphatic drainage is impaired, and the sexual organs themselves may lose their full mobility and function. In essence, this hardening process acts like an internal chain binding, restricting, and slowly diminishing one's masculine expression. This is where castor oil offers a gift of healing that modern medicine often overlooks. The same ricinoleic acid that boosts circulation also possesses remarkable fibrolytic properties, meaning it helps break down and remodel excess scar tissue. When castor oil is massaged into hardened or fibrotic areas, especially over time and with gentle heat, it begins to soften these areas from the inside out. It doesn't do this by burning or forcing tissue to dissolve. Rather, it encourages enzymatic activity, improves lymphatic flow, and promotes a more natural breakdown of abnormal collagen buildup, helping the body return to a more supple, functional state. Let's look at this practically. Many men over 60 have what they might describe as a hard cord or rope-like feeling along the shaft or base of the penis. Others may feel a slight bend has developed where once there was none. Some may notice the sensation of uneven firmness during arousal, one side swelling less than the other. In many cases, these signs point to the presence of internal scarring or fibrosis. Applying castor oil directly to these areas, with a gentle but firm massage, encourages a softening process that, over weeks and months, may gradually reduce these irregularities. The tissue begins to breathe again, to expand, move, and function without internal tension. But it's not just about physical symmetry or aesthetics. Scar tissue acts like an electrical insulator. When it forms in areas rich in nerves such as the dorsal nerve of the penis, it can dampen sensitivity, reduce the quality of stimulation, and even interfere with ejaculatory timing. By breaking up these fibrous zones, castor oil indirectly restores nerve conduction. The result? Many men report a heightened sense of awareness, improved pleasure, and better control during intimacy, benefits that arise not from the surface, but from the restored health of deeper tissues. Another key area of focus is the pubic mound and lower abdomen. After decades of aging, inflammation, or even surgeries such as appendectomies, prostate biopsies, or abdominal interventions, many men develop fascial adhesion, sticky bands of connective tissue that limit mobility and restrict the blood vessels and nerves traveling to the genitals. Massaging castor oil into these areas softens the fascia, loosens adhesions, and improves the glide and slide of internal structures. This translates into less restriction during arousal, improved erection angle, and even reduced pain or tension in the groin. Moreover, fibrosis doesn't only impact sexual function, it also interferes with hormonal signaling. The testes, for example, rely on healthy surrounding tissue for proper temperature regulation and vascular exchange. In men with hardened scrotal cords or thickened skin around the groin, there can be subtle interference with testosterone production or delivery. Castor oil's softening effects restore suppleness to these areas, encouraging better hormone regulation and possibly improving the local effects of testosterone in the tissues vital for libido, mood, and energy. One of the most overlooked but profoundly effective techniques is the use of castor oil packs, where a piece of cotton or wool flannel soaked in warm castor oil is applied to the lower abdomen or groin, covered with plastic, and gently heated with a warm pad for 3–5 minutes. This method, used for decades in holistic medicine, allows for deep penetration and long-lasting effects. When used 3 times a week over several months, castor oil packs have been associated with significant improvements in tissue quality, reduction in adhesions, and restoration of flexibility in areas once hardened by time or injury. But the softening power of castor oil also operates at a symbolic level. When a man begins to notice that his body is no longer as supple, as responsive, or as willing as it once was, it is easy to feel emotionally hardened as well. A sense of isolation creeps in, a quiet embarrassment, sometimes even shame. Many stop reaching for connection, not because they don't want it, but because they fear rejection or disappointment. The softening of tissue, in this context, becomes more than a physical act. It becomes a doorway back to confidence, to openness, and to emotional intimacy. You see, the body and mind are not separate. When you take the time to soften what has become stiff, whether it be through physical massage, warmth, or the quiet intention of healing, you begin to soften the beliefs you've held about yourself as well. You begin to allow the possibility that it's not too late, that vitality can return, that pleasure is not only still possible, but still deserved. Many men who begin using castor oil not only notice improved erections or sensation, they report feeling lighter, less bound up, less locked inside. This may be because, in addition to its physical properties, castor oil also stimulates the lymphatic system, helping move stagnation from the tissues. Lymph carries away cellular waste and old metabolic debris, things that, if left behind, contribute to that heavy, stuck feeling many older adults live with daily. By improving lymphatic flow, castor oil supports a deeper cleansing not just of the body, but of the emotional weight that often accompanies aging. In this way, softening scar tissue becomes a metaphor for softening the layers of disappointment, of resignation, of doubt that may have formed silently over the years. And what begins as a simple 5-minute routine, applying a warm oil to your own skin, becomes a quiet act of reclamation. There's also the matter of pelvic floor tension, which many men don't realize plays a role in both fibrosis and erectile difficulties. With age, chronic stress, poor posture, and injury, the muscles of the pelvic floor can become overactive, tight, rigid, and fatigued. These muscles, especially the bulbospongius and ischio-cavernous, wrap around the base of the penis and contribute directly to erection strength and ejaculation. When chronically tight, they restrict blood flow and contribute to fibrosis in the perineal area. Regular castor oil massage into the perineum, the soft area between the testicles and anus, can relax these muscles, improve blood vessel mobility, and help prevent or reverse fibrotic changes. Some men also find benefit in combining castor oil with very gentle stretching exercises or myofascial release techniques for the groin and hips. This approach enhances the oil's action by encouraging mobility and circulation in the surrounding structures. Over time, this leads to greater pelvic flexibility, better genital blood flow, and more comfortable movement during intimacy. So, where do you begin? Start simply. Take a moment at the end of the day to warm a small amount of castor oil in your hands. With intention and patience, massage it gently into the lower abdomen, the base of the penis, the perineum, and any area that feels firm, restricted, or unresponsive. Don't force. Let your hands listen. Over time, you'll begin to feel a change, first subtle, then undeniable. The tissue becomes softer, more alive, more yours. And remember, your body is not failing. It is simply responding to decades of use, tension, and survival. What it needs now is support. Gentle, consistent, nurturing support. Castor oil is not a miracle. It is a tool, but in the hands of a man who is willing to show up for his own healing, it can unlock doors long thought closed. In the next part of this guide, we'll explore how this simple oil also reduces inflammation and pain, especially in the prostate and pelvic floor, further unlocking your full masculine potential without the need for medication or risky procedures. As the body ages, inflammation quietly becomes one of the most destructive forces undermining male vitality. Unlike the sharp immediate inflammation that accompanies an injury, chronic low-grade inflammation often goes unnoticed until its effects begin to accumulate. For men over 60, especially those facing discomfort in the pelvic region, this kind of internal inflammation can become a silent thief of ease, confidence, and physical connection. Over the years, I've seen how persistent tension in the lower abdomen and pelvis slowly dulls not just sensation, but also the joy and spontaneity of intimacy. This is where castor oil, with its deeply penetrating and naturally qualities, offers a gentle but powerful solution for healing from the inside out. Chronic pelvic inflammation in aging men can stem from several causes: past infections, prostate issues, surgical history, or even years of muscular tension and poor circulation. These underlying irritations don't always scream for attention, show up as vague tightness, a subtle ache, or a diminished sense of responsiveness during physical activity or intimacy. Some men describe it as a constant feeling of constriction or dull pressure in the lower abdomen, groin, or perineum. Others notice they feel less grounded, less centered, or more fatigued after simple physical exertion. Unfortunately, these are often dismissed as just part of getting older, but they don't have to be. Castor oil, especially when warmed and applied with care, brings remarkable support to these deep tissues. Its primary compound, ricinoleic acid, has been studied for its ability to calm inflammation at the cellular level by modulating immune responses and improving lymphatic drainage. When massaged into the lower pelvic area and followed by gentle heat, the oil penetrates layers of skin and muscle, reaching those tense inflamed tissues. The warmth encourages vasodilation, opening blood vessels, and facilitates the deeper absorption of the oil's healing properties. Over time, this combination not only reduces discomfort but also allows tight, congested areas to breathe again. In my work with older male patients, many are surprised by how much relief they feel after a few weeks of this practice. It's not just physical ease, it's a psychological shift. When discomfort lifts, so does a certain heaviness in the spirit. Men report feeling lighter, more balanced, and more in tune with their bodies. One patient described it perfectly when he said, "It's like I'm no longer carrying something around inside me that I didn't even realize was weighing me down." That's the power of reducing hidden inflammation. It restores not just tissue health, but emotional freedom. But castor oil's benefits go beyond inflammation. One of its lesser-known yet profoundly important effects is its role in supporting sensory nerve health, especially crucial for older men. As we age, the nerve endings that once made us acutely sensitive to touch, temperature, and pleasure begin to dull. This is partly due to natural decline, and partly because of the cumulative impact of poor circulation, inflammation, and even long-term tension in the pelvic floor. The result? A growing sense of detachment from one's own body, especially in intimate moments. For many men, this decline in sensation is confusing and disheartening. They may still feel desire, still want closeness, but their physical responsiveness doesn't align with what they remember. They begin to question their vitality, their masculinity, their worth as a partner, and yet, few talk about it. Instead, they suffer quietly, sometimes turning to quick fixes that offer momentary function but do nothing to restore natural feeling or connection. This is where the healing potential of castor oil deserves deeper attention. Ricinoleic acid and other fatty components in castor oil have been observed to stimulate peripheral nerves gently. Unlike medications that flood the body or aggressive therapies that shock the nerves, castor oil works subtly. Its consistent use through massage and heat fosters an environment of regeneration. Nerves begin to wake up as circulation improves. Inflammation diminishes, and the tissues become more pliable and receptive. Over time, Men often notice not just more sensation, but also more nuance in that sensation. Textures feel richer, temperatures are easier to distinguish, and intimate touch regains emotional resonance. The psychological impact of this sensory return cannot be overstated. When a man begins to feel more from within, more warmth, more pleasure, more connection, it changes how he relates to his body and to those he loves. Confidence returns not because of performance, but because of presence. Intimacy evolves into something fuller, where connection is not measured only by action but by awareness and mutual engagement. This deepened connection often part of life that many had quietly mourned. There is also a spiritual element here. As a clinician, I've seen how aging brings not just physical changes, but questions about identity, purpose, and emotional fulfillment. When the body feels numb or unresponsive, it feeds the belief that one's vitality is fading. But when sensation returns, even gradually, it's a reminder that the body is still alive, still capable of pleasure, still worthy of care and attention. This awakening redefines aging not as a decline, but as a chance to reconnect with oneself, with a partner, and with the simple joys of being present, for practical use. I recommend continuing the castor oil routine outlined earlier in the week, applying 3 to 4 nights per week to the lower abdomen, groin, and perineal area. Be patient. Inflammation and nerve regeneration are slow processes. Think in terms of weeks and months, not days. The best results I've observed come from those who treat this practice not as a chore but as a form of devotion, a quiet, nightly act of restoration. Adding a few minutes of deep breathing or soft music during the session can enhance relaxation and deepen the body's receptivity. Some men also benefit from integrating this ritual with gentle pelvic stretches or mindfulness exercises that help release long-held tension in the hips and lower back. Remember, the pelvis is not just physical, it holds emotions, memories, and identity. When you nourish it, you are honoring every part of your journey, your strength, your vulnerability, your desire to keep growing even in your later years. Ultimately, the power of castor oil lies not in its exotic nature, but in its simplicity. It doesn't shout, it doesn't force. It simply reminds the body of its own capacity to heal, to feel, and to come alive again. In a world full of shortcuts and synthetic fixes, this humble oil invites you to slow down, reconnect, and rebuild from the inside out. And for men over 60 who want not just to function, but to truly feel, this is the most profound kind of transformation. Let the healing continue. Now that you've understood how castor oil helps restore blood flow, soften scar tissue, reduce deep pelvic inflammation, and reawaken nerve sensitivity, it's time to guide you through the safe and effective way to use this precious oil. After working with countless men over 60 who've tried this approach, I've seen what works, what doesn't, and what makes all the difference. The truth is, even the most healing natural remedy must be applied with care and patience to unlock its full potential. When used properly, castor oil doesn't just sit on the skin, it becomes a nightly act of restoration and connection, both with your body and your sense of self. Let's begin with the practical application process, because this is where many men have questions. First and foremost, always choose the right oil. Look for cold-pressed organic castor oil that comes in a dark glass bottle. This ensures that the oil hasn't been exposed to excess heat or light, which can degrade its healing compounds. Avoid castor oil that has added fragrance, preservatives, or anything labeled cosmetic grade. The purer, the better. You're not just moisturizing skin, you're inviting the oil to travel deep into tissues, muscles, and even your nervous system. Next, consider how to apply it. While you can simply rub the oil on, the most effective method, especially for men with deeper pelvic tension or reduced sensation, is the castor oil pack. This is an ancient technique where a piece of cotton or wool flannel is soaked in warm castor oil, placed over the target area, and then gently heated with a warm compress. This process allows the oil to penetrate several layers beneath the skin and into the tissues where it's most needed. You can do this 3 to 4 times a week, ideally at night when your body is ready to relax and heal. Here's a simple step-by-step guide for your nightly castor oil ritual. Prepare your space, find a quiet, warm place where you won't be disturbed. Dim the lights, play soft music if it helps, and make sure your room temperature is comfortable. Warm the oil. You don't want it hot, just pleasantly warm. You can place the bottle in a bowl of warm water for a few minutes. Do not microwave it. Soak the cloth. Take a clean piece of flannel or even a soft cotton cloth if flannel is unavailable. Fold it neatly and soak it in the warm oil. It should be moist but not dripping. Apply to the lower abdomen and pelvic area. Lie down and place the oil-soaked cloth across the lower part of your stomach, covering the area just above your pubic bone. You may also apply it slightly down toward the groin or perineum, depending on your comfort and goals. Add gentle heat. Place a hot water bottle or a heating pad on low setting over the cloth. Keep this setup in place for 30 to 45 minutes. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow your body to absorb aftercare. When finished, gently remove the cloth and wipe off any excess oil with a soft towel. You can leave a light layer on overnight, or wash with warm water if needed. Store the cloth in a container in the fridge and reuse it up to 20 to 30 times before replacing it. This may sound like a lot of work at first, but once it becomes part of your routine, many men report that this quiet 30-minute ritual becomes the most calming and healing part of their day. It's more than self-care, it's self-respect. Now, let's address common safety questions that may be on your mind. Castor oil is generally very safe when used externally. However, a few precautions should be noted. Do not use on broken skin or near open wounds. Wait until skin is healed before applying. Test for sensitivity first. Apply a small amount to your inner arm. If no redness or irritation occurs after 24 hours, it's safe to proceed. Avoid using during acute infection. If you have an active infection in the pelvic region or urinary tract, wait until it has cleared. Do not ingest castor oil unless specifically advised by a healthcare professional. Internal use for constipation or detox purposes is a separate protocol and not advised in this context. If you are on blood thinners or have serious liver conditions, consult your doctor before regular use. While topical use is mild, it's still best to stay cautious. Stop immediately if irritation occurs, though this is rare for many older men. Combining this castor oil ritual with gentle movement, hydration, and mindfulness greatly amplifies the benefits. Your pelvic floor, circulation, and nerves don't exist in isolation. They are part of a whole system. So take walks, do light stretching, especially hip openers, drink plenty of clean water, and breathe slowly into your belly. These small, daily actions, when paired with castor oil application, reinforce the signals your body needs to heal. Another tip that's often overlooked: the power of consistency over intensity. You don't need to saturate yourself in oil every night or heat it for hours. The key is regular, loving attention. Men who use castor oil packs 3 to 4 times per week for 6 to 8 weeks often report powerful changes: reduced tension, clearer sensation, improved urinary function, and even emotional clarity. And now, I want to speak to you from a more personal place, not just as a professional or educator, but as someone who has listened to the quiet concerns of men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. I've seen the heartbreak of those who believe their best days are behind them, who feel ashamed to speak about their diminishing function or fading connection with their partners. I've seen the bravery it takes to admit, "I miss feeling alive," and I want you to know, you are not alone. What you are going through is not weakness. It is not failure. It is simply the body asking to be heard, to be touched, to be understood again. We live in a culture that often tells men to tough it out, to ignore the signs, to focus only on performance. But real strength lies in awareness, in choosing to care for yourself deeply, in choosing to return to your body not with judgment, but with gentleness. And this oil, as humble as it seems, can be the doorway to that return. There's something almost sacred about applying castor oil by hand to your own lower abdomen. Knowing you're helping your circulation, your tissues, your nerves wake up. This act says, "I still matter. I'm not done. I deserve to feel good in this body at any age." You may notice small changes at first, lightly more warmth in the pelvic area, a looser feeling in your hips, or just a bit more sensation during intimacy. Then, perhaps a greater ease with urination, less tension when sitting, deeper sleep. These are not accidents. They are signs your body is remembering how to heal. For those with partners, this healing can also become an invitation to and emotionally. As you begin to feel more, open more, and return to your natural rhythm, many find that their relationships deepen. Vulnerability turns into strength. Quiet confidence replaces anxiety. So if you're standing at the threshold, whether this simple oil can really make a difference, I invite you to try. Give it a month. Give your body your time. You might be surprised not just by how much better you feel, but by how much more fully you begin to live again. Aging is not a sentence, it's a transition. And healing is not a mere choice made day after day. With the help of castor oil, and with the quiet determination you already carry inside, your body can begin that journey home. You are still powerful, you are still vital, and you are most certainly not done yet.